Welcome to Project Pack number 6. This is day 8. My name is Rick.
8. Wow. My name is Maria. I'm still amazed at where we're just getting
Day
through
8
these.
and a
Yeah,
micron 8, right?
they're okay. We're going to start with an 8. And of course, I had to throw in something with some lettering because you guys know me. I'm just the lettering queen. And I decided I would do a word. I don't usually do a word, but just to fill in that space of working with the black and the white. So we're just going to do this little universal, everybody loves this word, right?
No pun intended.
Pun intended, yeah. So I'm just going to put basic letters down, and I switch back and forth from capital to lowercase very easily. It doesn't bother me at all. I don't have any rules in my work. So I did the black over the black, and so I could see the letter really easily. Going back in and
So
adding the rest of it.
what Maria's showing us here is something we've started that we call embedded letters.
Right.
And it's this really neat way to, even if you've got the letter form down, she's going back and sculpting it.
Right. So I put the basic letter down. Like everybody can just put a basic letter down. We know our letters enough. And it actually doesn't even matter because with what we're going to do with it, you almost don't even see the letter. The letter becomes a background.
Right.
And so what I'm doing here, like Rick said, I'm sculpting the letters to give them a little more gravitas, a little more weight. And instead of doing that with one stroke of the pen, where that would be what a calligrapher would do, I'm doing it as a drawn letter. So you go in and then draw around it.
And so you can adjust it and move it a little bit, and it's a really nice way. What we're doing in some ways is creating a support for tangles using letters.
Right.
So you can use letters or you can use other shapes or any language,
Numbers. Yeah.
characters, logos.
So again, I'm sculpting this letter.
And even though Maria doesn't do it on, I don't think you do it on this one, when you've got the white on the black, you can always go and,
I do.
oh, you do?
Yeah.
You can do some black on the white and smooth out the edges. So there's this nice transition back and forth here. So the point is, even if the first structure stroke that you put down isn't exactly what you want the letter to look like, you can build it up in any way. Sort of like, I remember in, what is it, like in clay, they would have like a structure underneath and you would
Right.
add clay to it.
A wire structure.
A wire structure.
Okay, so I'm working now with my 01 micron. And again, I was doing a little drawing around it. So the first step in embedded letters after you put down the letter is to do an aura around the entire letter, just to sort of encapsulate it, so to speak.
And it also creates this nice break. It's like a light and dark break for what comes next.
So I don't have to go all the way down with the black micron now because I have the letter to guide
yeah.
me. Yeah. And I was really, I mean, not surprised, but pleasantly amused or whatever with when we brought embedded letters out that everybody could do this.
Right.
It was like so cool. It wasn't just calligraphers or people who had great handwriting. It was everybody
Right.
that could do it.
And also to see it in all the different languages, the same
Oh
principle
yeah,
works.
yeah. That's true. Some of our Asian friends have done some
Right.
characters that
Some
were really
beautiful work.
beautiful.
Okay, so
I'm going to go. I was wondering when I was going to clean that up. I know because
Hey.
because you can go and sculpt and everything. I can sculpt that right out. And I can even sculpt
Yeah.
where I had done stuff.
But you do that a lot. You just go back and touch it for the sake of touching it, I think.
Hmm.
So a little hollowbah action there. So again, Aura is such a wonderful tangling tool because you know exactly, you're not having to figure out, okay, well, where should I draw the line? We're just auraing it. Just really focus on the ink coming out and watching the pen. I think we're both mesmerized
Hmm.
watching this. We're doing the voiceovers and watching it. We have to remember to say something.
So this is pretty easy part. It's fairly simple.
Well, it's all pretty easy.
Yeah.
It's just this nice back and forth of auraing, and then this next step, which is very cool.
Okay, so the next step involves uh, kind of launching, so to speak.
Yeah.
So you start like what do you call it, the take off and land kind of thing off the aura that you just created. So, okay, come on, come on, come on. I'm still
You're
sculpting.
still sculpting here. Are you ready?
Okay, so
Okay,
now
here
we're
we go.
just gonna launch these little curved lines, or
Okay.
like little feathers, or I don't know what you're
So
getting.
it's like a bit of fescue,
Yeah,
if you're
like
familiar
fescue. It
with the
is.
Tangle fescue.
So it doesn't matter what direction they go in. It doesn't matter um, how many you put down, because you can add them as you go along. And you just go around and fill in. You want to fill in blank spaces. So you can see the darker part, the little circular part, is away from the letter, and then fills in a
So
need,
sort
sort
of
of
an
like that,
evenness of texture
right?
there. And every time she goes off, there's a little bit of retracing that aura around the letter.
Okay, so we have quite a few of these, and we're going to do them in the white as well. And it looks really wild and da da da, but it calms down with the rest of what we're going to do.
Well, it's creating another texture. So there's this pattern texture of these tendrils coming off.
So my whole idea of doing embedded letters, and just even the name of it, is that I wanted the letters to be there, but I wanted them to sort of disappear,
Hmm.
so that you at first didn't really know that the letter was there. Sometimes we do it so we want them to be really evident, but sometimes I like to just embed a letter in a piece, and then have to, if I was going to give it away, I would then just say, oh, and this one was done just for you. So this next step here, we're going to aura around all of these little fescue shapes and the letters. So one continuous line all the way around, which is kind of fun. If you just got to pay attention.
So auraing, the saying, when in doubt, aura, and aura is your friend. It adds such a wonderful series of steps and texture, and you'll notice that she's keeping sort of the same space again between the auras.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very similar to what you'll find in nature. So many of our patterns are inspired by natural phenomenon. So you can imagine, if you've ever seen like, some, cross section of crystals, like if you see a cross section of malachite or something like that, you'll see auraing all over the place.
So now going in with the white jelly roll, do the same thing.
And Maria isn't turning her journal that much just so she doesn't make you seasick.
Okay.
But you can feel free
Yeah, you'll want to do that.
to turn it, take your time, and whatever direction is good for you. The point is not to get this done. The point is just to,
Enjoy the journey.
yeah. And also to be open to other inspirations that while you're doing it come up.
Mm-hmm. So again, I'm going in and touching things up. And sometimes it's because I was waiting for it to dry in order to put like another level of, oh, look, I'm going to add some more. See.
So in all things Zentangle, there's this sense of alternating back and forth, and oh no, we're going to do this. This
Yeah,
is very cool.
so one of the things that makes this a little bit different, we're going to go in and add rounding wherever there's a crook in the pathway, like a crevice, or we'll go in and round it out and then blacken it in. And this is going to add a whole different feel to things. It's going to add some black and some strong color.
So think of like how water would gather in that little crooks, those little tight angles there.
So I'm going to go all the way around, and what we're doing is we're evening out like picture somebody building a road, and they're, instead of taking right angles, they're going to maybe want to have a curve, so it's easier to maneuver from one road to the
Right.
other.
So like smoothing it out, like
Mhm.
with. There's a good analogy somewhere, but
Yeah, I'm sure you'll come up with it
later.
in the middle of the night.
But again, it's really fun to just go around and find all those little places, and yep, there's the one.
And if you miss one, don't worry about it, because you can always put it in the next round. So what we're going to do is basically rinse and repeat now. We're going to keep doing this over and over, going around the aura and then going in and doing the rounding. And we're going to just keep doing that until we think we're done.
So again, we'll do the rounding. We did it with the black ink on the white. We'll do it with the white ink on the black. And the rounding itself gives a wonderful contrast because it now becomes a tangle with solid elements instead of just lines. So you've got this mix of line and solid.
Now, see how I can aura this so simply, as opposed to stopping and going into corners like this one, which I missed. But
Well, it's another opportunity to round later.
right.
And with the black.
And this is such great practice for just pen control and line, getting used to having your pen do what your mind wants it to do.
So you can do that little rounding there as you go.
Yeah.
I love how you touch that up. So understanding these steps, it just, by repeating them, it creates this texture. I think that's the best
Yeah.
word I can think of.
Right. And it has a very Celtic, Book of Kells kind of look to the letters in a very simple formula. And all of those letters that they created back then were formulas as well, but they're a little more complicated than what we can create, because they did with, pencil and erasing and all that stuff.
But I think the word formula is really great because that's what most of the tangles are that we do, and that's what this embedded lettering process is. It's this formula of aura, tendrils, rounding, aura, tendrils, rounding. So you could, continue to add the tendrils, and you could continue to add and just fill up the entire book with this lovely, coral-like growth of this approach. And see how the word is just becoming part of the pattern now.
I just love this. I can hear Martha and Molly going, oh,
Groan.
Mom, groan, yeah.
Fun. And you can just keep auraing.
Until the cows come home.
Right. But I think adding an aura on the outside of everything sort of ties it all together.
You could do this with somebody's name or, whatever word you want. You absolutely don't have to use this word. In fact, I'm looking forward to seeing what words you do.
Right. But you can also see that none of these strokes have to be perfect. And that's a really important thing, I think, to remind ourselves. And it's one of the great inspirations when we first teach tangling is that although it looks really complicated when you look at the final result, if you look in at any individual stroke, it's like, well, yeah, I could do that. I could do any one of those strokes. It's just putting them together in that sequence, different sequences.
So what I'm doing here is a technique that I use a lot now in my tangling, is that I'll take the white chalk pencil and make sure first that the ink is dry. Give it a minute, and I'm going to go over the whole thing to kind of gray it down so that it's not so.
High contrast?
Yeah, and it just gives it a different look. It's not that one's better than the other. It's almost like saying, "Well, where'd you get the gray pen?" It's like that kind
Or
of thing.
it just gives this other additional subtle gradation. And you might not even notice it at the beginning.
Isn't that pretty though? Isn't that
Yeah,
that's
it's a
kind of a
great,
neat thing?
great
I
effect.
wanted to be able to show that to everybody to see how easy it is to just create a new little color there. Oh, and I just couldn't leave it alone. You know how I
Right.
am. Yes. White and black, black and white, white and black.
But this gives a really good idea of what you can do with the two colors of pens. The key, of course, is to make sure that the ink over which you're drawing is dry.
Right.
And sometimes, as we've mentioned, your one of the pens, particularly the black, can pick up some of the white or the dust from the white charcoal. But just go onto a clean piece of paper and draw some lines, and you'll see the ink just starts to it cleans itself out. Let me just put in some black dots there. I think you're having too much fun.
I know.
Yeah. You can see what she did there, the over and under. Fun. So just drawing that pen on another piece of paper and the ink starts flowing again.
Right.
Beautiful. Nice. But wait. Oh. I was wondering if Bijou was going to show up.
Yeah, he's just inspecting.
Ah,
There he goes.
I think he likes it.
I think he loves it.
Yes. Well, thank you. This is this has all been absolutely wonderful.
Ah,
We have one more video, and we're going to go over a few things and just show some of great ideas. And we're so grateful for you playing with us. Bye.